Hello, welcome to AI in Action. My name is Maurie. I'm here with my husband, Jim, and we are going to talk about artificial intelligence.
Okay, so we know that AI is showing up everywhere. We know it's showing up in search engines. It's showing up in just about every aspect of people's lives, whether they want it to or not.
Jobs, life
So
tools.
tonight I want to talk about that aspect of it, the fact that it's showing up everywhere. But mainly I want to talk about the tension between the people who want it everywhere and the people who don't. And, as with all tensions, there's kind of extremes at either side. But mainly I want to cover 3 points.
Okay.
I'm looking at my notes here.
No,
So
that's
bear with
fine.
me.
Go for it.
Why does AI feel different from earlier tech? How does it improve learning?
Does it improve learning?
Yeah, that's true. It's more like does it than has it. Why is education one of the clearest places to see the fight? Well, it's because we're in it.
We're in.
We're in it. So
That's our
maybe it's
day
not
job.
clear for everybody, but it's our day job. But I started on the notes for this particular thing because of a keynote you gave recently and people's reactions to it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay.
And yes, I know it's different. Normally you're asking the questions, but tonight
This is going to kill me.
it's going to kill me too.
So, Region 11 up in Dallas Fort Worth area had me come do a keynote for an AI program they were doing. And I really thought about it a lot, and I decided, yes, I was going to talk about AI because they wanted me to come because of my book. They
That's
do.
what the whole thing was about.
It was.
Which is why you were so stressed out.
I was very stressed
I
out.
wasn't on the stage with you. I was actually in the back of the room recording. I wasn't with you. You were all by yourself. You don't normally do that. So it was a little different.
Yes, it was a little different. They used my book for book studies, which is a huge compliment. And the lady, Carrie, is an amazing person. And she asked me to come and talk about my book. And I decided to go ahead and not just talk about the book, but also talk about what led me to write the book and, what it is actually like in the classrooms and like the 68 stories that are in the book that aren't just my own stories, but I collect them from all over the world. And then I asked the simple question, could AI help? Well, I got a huge response, but it was varied.
Well, let's talk about the one that caught my attention.
Okay.
A couple of them. And it happened right after you talked. There was one person who was almost in tears
A few, actually.
because I'm talking about these two particular people that I was sitting there.
Okay.
You talked to a lot of people that I didn't, but she basically said that your stories changed her perspective or her life in terms of what she was going to do next. And there was another guy that he was grateful.
And he had seen us at UT Austin speak.
Yes, he
Came
had.
up to us afterwards.
So anyway,
I had a lady in the bathroom that you didn't see. She walked over. I was in the restroom.
I wasn't in
And
that.
I'm very glad about that. And she came in and said, oh my God, she gave me this hug and she started crying. And she said that she had some stuff going on in her life and yada, yada, yada. And so it touched me. I was very glad, very happy that my stories were able to touch somebody else.
So why that highlighted the tension? So then you asked them to give you some feedback that people gave them. And what did you get?
About a week later, I was like, hey, if you got any feedback, I'd love to have it because it helps me improve and all that good stuff. And she gave me some wonderful quotes and some wonderful feedback. But she said that the only thing that she heard from a couple of people was that I had not talked enough about artificial intelligence.
Which that's what really gave me this idea for this podcast with all my notes I'm scrolling through here. Because when I mentioned that tension earlier between the people who like AI, that's a great example of it. I mean, you literally had people hugging you because of the human side of what you did. You talked about what it is to be a teacher and what that means to you as a human being. There's a lot of great stories in the book about it. And then yet you also had a little bit of AI, but that wasn't your focus really was the human side.
Well, I think the main thing I was trying to do was let them know that artificial intelligence is great. And I even told them, I said, artificial intelligence will do the things that we need it to do when it comes to like saving time and lesson planning and differentiation. There's so much it can help you with. But as of today, artificial intelligence cannot clean puke off of your shoes. And I mean, that was just the main point. But you have to keep perspective. You can't use AI for everything in a classroom.
So your focus, which is why it was so good, was you were really focused on the human side with some AI, not the AI side with some human. Correct. And I think that that particular tension, that's what really sparked my interest in this particular um, concept for this podcast, because I'm like, it was so dramatic. It wasn't like it was a little bit. It was like completely opposite ends of the spectrum.
One or the other.
One or the other, which
And
is cool.
I would like to say, when I was standing there and I was looking at the audience and I was telling my stories, 99% of them or more, and it was probably about 100, 110 people in the room. They were listening to me, and that's what I always gauge it by. I am a walker. I walk around the room. I make eye contact. But there were the couple, but I could tell they were like, I came here for AI. Why are we talking about emotions?
But there was only a couple.
There was only a few.
Most people, I was in the back of the room because I was standing back there trying to get a clear view to record. And the people that were sitting around me were not. They were focused on what you were saying.
I would like to say that we did do a couple of sessions, not a keynote. That was 100% about AI companionship.
Well,
So we did talk about AI.
Just not there.
Okay.
So I guess what I found when I was researching for this podcast is, if you have people that are detractors, what are they saying? Because to some degree, I can be a detractor, depending on how you utilize AI.
I think it's a balance.
So some of the stuff that I read was, you didn't ask us. In other words, AI is so great, but you never asked us if we've been wanted it. But that's pretty typical for anything new. The big one, what happens to jobs? Big part of the backlash is these geniuses that run these companies that are literally saying it's going to take all your jobs away. Who sells that way?
Their marketing guy their handler needs to get a hold of them.
Right.
Their handlers.
Again, it was like I was telling you the other day. It's back to this selling a car, because I used to be in marketing.
That was hilarious.
I used to be in marketing.
When you came with that analogy, I was like, God, that makes sense.
Well, I used to be in marketing. My boss, was a really good marketing guy.
Yes.
I had a lot of respect for him. But anyway, it's like, I'm going to sell you a car. The first thing I'm going to do is tell you how many ways it'll kill you. I mean, do you sell cars that way? I mean,
No.
You don't sell anything that way. But you have Sam Altman, and you have the guys Anthropic. You have the guys. Everybody's going, it's going to take all your jobs.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Wow.
You need to use it. You need to buy it. You need to utilize it. You need to learn how to use it. Oh, but by the way, it's probably going to take your job.
Exactly. So I think the backlash isn't against AI. It's against people not willing to make the trade-offs.
But I also need to say that I think a lot of the big companies are using it as an excuse to get rid of people.
Yeah, but that's not how you market.
I know it's not. It's not.
Just idiotic.
But it's like,
go back to
if Sam Altman is going to say AI is going to take people's jobs, let me fire all these people and then blame it on what Sam Altman said.
I think that's part of it. I think part of the reason that these AI guys like Sam Altman are saying this is because they're using it to raise money. And it sounds counterintuitive. Why would you raise money that way? But in reality, the reality is the people with the money are going, oh, so I can get rid of 80% of 20% of my staff. Right? And so they're using that as a selling point, because the people that make the decisions are being told this is a way to reduce headcount. Therefore, you could. So I think that's why they're doing it that way. But it's having a really bad effect, because people are going, this is terrible.
And we have been in situations to where we have had headcount ourselves.
Of course, 80% we owned our restaurant. 80% of our costs
was
headcount at this school district,
and 90% of our staff was from that headcount. You know what I'm saying? I
understand everybody to buy in. I think they've done such a good job of making people paranoid that people don't want the technology at all. I said at the beginning of the year, one of my predictions was this is going to become a political hot potato in election
this year. Yes,
because it's going to be these data centers, and it's going to be the rich versus the poor, class segregation. Pick your term, but I said this is going to become a very hot item this year. And I think the detractor side is really leaning into that narrative.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree 100%.
And I think that's why the pushback is getting bigger, because it is being pushed by political advertising. It's being pushed by people who you don't get elected to office by telling everybody everything's great the way it is.
Elected to office by saying, let's compromise. Nobody wants
Not
to
today.
compromise. They want their way or no way. So the middle ground doesn't want elections.
Right. So stepping back 1 second into education, because that's where we hang out every day. this is not the timeline of technology and education goes back a long ways. It goes back to when technology of any sort was invented. And every time technology has come into education, it's had detractor pros and cons. But typically it worked out because the technology was, when you put in a calculator, the argument was kids are going to not know how to do math anymore.
Right.
But in reality, it was just a tool to do math. You still had to do math. You just didn't have to do it in your head anymore. You still had to do it.
It allowed you
And
to answer more
you could
complex
probably
questions.
still argue that maybe we did lose something. But as you say all the time, something's got to give if you're going to keep piling things onto educators. So everybody was willing to make that trade-off, right? Well, and then you continue. Let's see, we've got computer labs, laptops, one-to-one devices, learning management. I got a list here.
There you go.
Online testing, phones, digital textbooks, now AI. This is in one of our original presentations that we did when we talked about the adoption of and all these different technologies.
Almost happened.
Every wave has said there's going to be things are going to be faster, bigger, better, easier, whatever. How is this one's different because this is the one point where Microsoft used to call this a cognitive service. They have it under their bundle of cognitive services. So now what you have is, instead of a calculator or whatever that requires the human intervention, calculators don't work without a human.
Okay.
You got to enter the numbers, you got to hit the thing. So
that's what I was about to say. I agree with you that it's a cognitive service, but I'm also going to point out that it is also a large language model. So the interface with that technology is completely different. I can open an AI and say, can you solve a problem for me about this? I don't have to learn a formula to punch to a calculator. I don't have
punch
to
in the formula.
I don't have to punch the formula in. I don't have to sit at a keyboard and move blocks around to help me with coding. It's literally the interface has also changed.
Well, and I think the interface to technology should have changed a long time ago. That's one of the biggest complaints I have about how technology works. But unfortunately, AI and these cognitive services play into what social media created, which is the skimmer generation.
Yes.
You don't read the newspaper. I bought a newspaper today, and you actually sit there and enjoy the visceral feel.
I got in the truck. I was like, Jim, what the hell is that piece of paper you're holding?
I know. And at first you're like, and then you start picking it up because I mentioned something in there. Small town. Well, small town. There's a car wreck. So you got to mention, some disaster because you always want to know what happens in your community. And so you start and you read every page of the paper. It's the local paper. Yeah. I'm afraid it's been there for like 150 years or 136 years. I think. I keep waiting too. So the point is that when you start looking at how AI works and it feeds into that skimmer generation, skimming by definition is a removal of friction, which is what the tech guys have been saying for every piece of technology removes some form of friction, makes it more efficient. Mm-hmm. But when you remove the friction to thinking, now you've got a different problem.
Yes, you do.
So we've talked about the pros and the cons a little bit, but I wanted to step back for a second to last summer.
Oh,
the TCA conference.
Okay.
I really enjoyed those. I know we're not going this year, but I really enjoyed this.
Guess why we're not going?
Because it's expensive.
K-12 education just have a budget.
And we're tired of paying for half of it out of my own pocket. Even though they get we're speaking at it, so we get it at a huge discount. Yeah. But the hotels and everything, and we can't justify it with my budget at the same time. Her budget is. Anyway, but you did a presentation, which I really liked, called
It was AI Unplugged.
Okay. So the thing I want to point out before you tell us about it is the room would hold comfortably about 50 people. But 75 people show up. There's a standing around. We had to bring in desks from the hallway. People were standing in the hallway. Some people had to be turned away. Yes. I did not expect, me, I think 5, 6 people. That's what I always say.
Always.
It's like 70 people show up.
Yeah. It was packed.
Anyway.
What I had done is I had prepared 13 lessons that spanned kindergarten through 5th grade. Mm-hmm. So there was just a few lessons per grade level. Mm-hmm. And basically what I was doing is I was having them do the lessons together in small groups to kind of give me feedback. It taught artificial intelligence, but it was 100% manipulatives. It was sorting cards, looking for smiles.
It was teaching people about AI.
It was teaching about how AI is trained, how AI learns, how bias is introduced, it's starting to kindergarten level, and how, look, it's a banana. a banana looks almost like a smile if you turn it just right, and it could confuse an AI.
But
And
what
so
was the key point?
the key
No
point was,
screen.
well, the key point was no screens, but the key point was also understanding and becoming skeptical and how to question, get an answer from an AI. And how did the AI get that answer?
And put in your shameless plug because you've been working
I
on this.
have, well, what happened was they were like, can we have these lessons? And I'm like, well,
You weren't really
they weren't
prepared
perfect.
well, you weren't prepared to sell it. You were there to present this because it was fun and
Yeah.
typical for you and I. We go present something because we just like it.
And then all of a sudden they were like, well, can we get these from you?
Yeah,
I'm like,
and
well,
really like
13 of them. And I told them, I said, well, I'm finished with all the kindergarten ones. I have 15 lessons that are specifically for kindergarten. And they're about to be on our website. Next week, there will be PDF form on our website.
And they're not
like,
going to be expensive.
it's like $12.95 is what I'm thinking. About $12.95, you'll have 15 complete lessons to do during center time or whatever time you want for your kindergarten class. And I've already got several lessons for all the other grade levels,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not going to release those until I get 15 for each grade level.
And
I'm going to go all the way through 8th grade.
You even thought about selling little kids. You get the idea. The thing is, though, what I liked it, people didn't come to the conference for AI. That was not an AI conference. That was a TCA conference. There was a lot of other things going on. They were packing in that room because they wanted to feel like that they can learn AI in the environment where they had some level of control. These are professional educators. They want to actually be a part of the learning process because they feel like they add value to it.
And they also feel like they don't know yet. I noticed that with several of the groups that were doing the lessons. When I was walking around, they were like, oh, that makes more sense now. Oh, I see how that can happen.
Yes.
Because they also don't understand as much as.
But isn't that part of it? I mean, the best part of teaching is that you're always learning.
Always.
As you learn, the students learn. That's one of the things that I think high stakes testing has taken away. We talk how much we love project-based learning. Teachers have lost the ability to have that level of control where they can talk about something that they're learning how to do with the kids to some degree.
That teachers have shot themselves in the foot.
Well, we're not going to get into that, but yeah, to some degree they have.
Now you have to tell me, okay, you had a teacher when you were in high school. Yeah, we were talking about this earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
I was in high school when the very first high stakes test happened.
Thankfully, I missed that.
Okay. I was in high school. I remember when it happened.
Yes.
H. Ross Perot, No Pass, No Play happened.
Our first billionaire that was buying education, H. Ross.
Very first billionaire that was buying education. And I can remember having conversations. His daughter doesn't even go to a public
school. Anyway, we're diving
or whatever.
into this.
Okay. But you had a teacher that, what did they do? It was from math, high school level math. And what did y'all do during your math class?
I did a lot of things.
You went out to the field, to the track.
Oh, yeah.
And you timed people running.
It was a coach, and the coach liked. He was teaching like algebra 2.
I know.
And it was his love lesson was he was a coach, and he wanted to be out on the track because he liked track. So I sat out there and timed runners. I did that for multiple days. And when I went to college, I had a real big hole in my algebra that I had to make it for myself.
I had a math teacher that if we knew the football score from Friday night's football game, we got 10 extra points on our quiz.
Again, we swung too far from one direction to the other.
What happens?
That's what started. So
thank you, AI. We should have been having these conversations a long time ago.
So one of the things that when I was doing the research for this podcast, one of the things that I found was a testimony that, again, this is talking about the subtlety of the detractors. Because this particular guy, I felt like he's more of a detractor than a not, but he wasn't focused on AI. He was focused on technology in the classroom. Because the argument now, along with the AI detractor, is technology in general doing what we're paying for.
Wasn't he saying that this generation is like the dumbest generation?
He literally said that. The Gen Z is the lowest performing generation since they've been measuring it, because every year they expect the kids will be smarter than the previous year. It's the first time they haven't. There was a lot of things he said I don't agree with. I have a Gen Z son. If he wants to come test my son, you go right ahead, buddy, because my son is not. And my son's wife is not unintelligent, and my nephew is not, who is also that age. So I don't agree with that. I think he's making generalizations, but he had a lot of research back stuff about this.
Enough so that he was in Congress.
He was in Congress. I noticed one of the Texas senators was sitting there probably agreeing with this idea of less screen time because it's another way to pull money out of schools. However, I don't think all of his claims are wrong. I do think that technology hasn't lived up to its promise in classrooms, but I don't think that is because of technology not being what it should be. I think it's because technology, we talk about this all the time, the technology we're putting in classrooms wasn't designed for classrooms. It was designed for businesses and we shoehorned it in. Even things like large LCD panels. Every company we've talked to that sells these new interactive panels, they sell as many to put in boardrooms and things in businesses as they sell to put in education.
You can't survive otherwise.
They can't. Their margins are better on the commercial stuff.
Right.
So I do think that he has a lot of good points about it, but I think his point should be focused on how do we fix it, not, I mean, he literally talks about going back to pencil and paper. Sounds great, dude. Why don't you come in there and fill out the amount of paperwork after you have to grade 120 papers? Why don't you also fill out all the special ed paperwork, the 504s and the whatever, you've got about 14 acronyms you go through. Teachers have to have time to do all that. And if you're going to hand grade a bunch of papers, it took a lot of time. So there's got to be a balance in there.
Do you realize that third graders type in their constructive response?
Now you're going to get to high stakes testing. You and I could do 5 podcasts on high stakes testing.
Well,
how much we hate it.
You can't study work on pencil and paper and still have the kids start taking online tests.
Sure, go talk to the Senate, and if you're going to convince them that we need to go back to paper, you also need to convince them that we have to go back to paper tests. And you know what? There's a lot of principals out there. They might not disagree.
That would be absolutely okay.
They would. I know at least one at our school.
Mm-hmm.
So, by the way, if you want to look it up, the guy's name that gave this testimony was Jared Cooney Horvath.
Mm-hmm.
And gave it before the Senate back in January. You can get the whole thing online if you want to look at what I was talking about. As I said, I'm not knocking the guy. I think he has valid points. I just don't agree with his conclusion.
I think one of the main things in the summary that you showed me was that the question we need to be asking is, why should schools keep adopting all of these tools before we know the cost of that adoption? And this has happened a lot in education. We get this new curriculum, we get this new tool that we've adopted in, and we start giving it to the kids. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, crud, that's not working. And then all of a sudden the kid goes on to the next grade, but the curriculum that we've been teaching wasn't working.
We had some of that at our school.
And, yes, and now these kids are behind.
I've never seen teachers work so hard to stop like that.
And I've never seen teachers work so hard to try to catch kids up because of bad curriculum they had 2 years previously and COVID. And so, as something that you pointed out to me earlier, a 4th grader can't wait. You know, it's like,
So now you say, let's all stop and let's research this until we're fully sure it's going to work.
Right.
And then let's take that and then let's put it in.
Right.
I've sat in admin meetings before because I've been in education a long time. I've sat in admin meetings where they're talking about things that are going to happen 3 and 4 and 5 years down the road. And my thought was,
what about kids that are
I
learning?
understand that now, but what about if you're a freshman in high school now, that means they'll get no benefit from this.
And this was whenever we went to the universities to talk after.
Specifically, we went to A&M and we're talking to business.
We went to A&M and we had a bunch of juniors, seniors, and PhD students in there. And all of a sudden it was like, you know what? These guys didn't know AI until they were already in college. And there's no curriculum for it. And therefore they were self-taught. And it actually was hurting them.
And by the way, it's going to take your job. So you have to already know how to use it, even though you don't. That's not a new problem with technology, but it's certainly accelerated with AI.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I think the point is that AI you can't just sit around and go, we're going to wait till the research is done because of kids, but you also can't just shove it in like every other piece of technology that's been shoved into it and just kind of see what happens. I think it needs to be tuned better.
I've got a great idea.
Let's
maintain the teaching environment, bring the technology into the peripheral, and then slowly feed in what's working into the main curriculum.
You're not going to do that very well, in my opinion, until you're at high stakes testing. But that's just
me. Children cannot sit in limbo while all these adults are waiting for this perfect evidence that something's working.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. So I have a little bit more. I have a lot of material I got for this. It's actually an interesting one to research. And so I have a lot
I
of
am
material.
so glad that you enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed harassing you with it for the last 2 days. Um, so I learned a word to get used a lot. I never have used this word until
Uh-oh.
agency thing.
Agency.
I didn't even really know what that meant. I heard the word and I just kind of skimmed over it. And then I'm like, what the heck does that even mean? It basically means I want to be part of the process for making the decision about what happens to me.
Not just ownership, but agency.
I want the ability to not just have it thrust upon me. I want the ability to have some level of control. People talk about health and healthcare all the time. You know, we feel you go to a doctor and they tell you to do this, this, and this. You go to the hospital, they tell you to do. But why do people keep looking up and using these alternative medicines and all that stuff? Because they want some agency over their own health. And they don't get that from the healthcare system. That's a different problem. But so what I basically came up with, and yes, I do work with an AI. You can't do research anymore without
No, you can't.
Google has it built in. So I, as you well know, do not let the AI do all the thinking for me. As a matter of fact, I'm obnoxious about AIs whenever they don't. I don't
coming for you first.
They are coming for me first because I don't like being told what to do by an AI. So basically what we came up with when I was researching this was AI should basically, if you're going to use it, how do we use it now? Like we talked about, so the kids don't miss out without it taking over. So we came up with 3 tests.
Okay.
Does it increase human agency or reduce it? In other words, does it give you more control? This is what you and I talk about with technology in the classroom. Move it to the peripherals.
Okay.
So I have some more control over what it's doing in my life.
Let's talk about control. One of the things that I have really started doing, and as you can tell, our wall behind us is completely different color, and I'm about to hang shells of different stuff. I love controlling my environment, and I used to, I could go, I don't know, I don't know. But now with artificial intelligence, I can put in a picture and I can get an idea what it's going to look like when I'm done, and it allows me ownership and agency.
So
of
you're
making
not
those
getting
decisions.
agency on the decisions about your house. You're using it to test ideas.
And to give me some inspiration.
Fair. Test number 2, does it make people more capable and more dependent? That's a big.
I'm sorry, I just redid a whole window. That's not going to go through home.
It's what you're saying to me is you can use AI and not give up your agency.
Right. And I can use AI to become more capable.
But you know very well without training, kids won't. And we've seen it already at the school. We've seen kids that are using ChatGPT in every way they can or on their AI just to keep doing it.
Right now, I think it's a personality problem when it comes to personality. It's a cognitive level problem because when you're at a certain cognitive level, like developmental wise, a lot of times you're always going for the lowest hanging fruit. Always. You're always taking the easiest.
So let's see if I can summarize that. People take the easiest way to do it because generally people are, they used to say the best engineers are lazy ones because they're always looking for an easier way to do it. Right? So they come up with new and creative ways to do less. So you're saying people take the easiest path.
Yes.
And kids are no different than adults in that.
No different.
And they also have zero training on what the ramifications of that are.
Right.
So,
but they are going to start learning that the easiest path is not always the right path.
I think we're going way long, so I want to finish this.
Does it solve a real problem?
Does it solve a real problem, or is it because AI sells? We both know that. Well, it can, but that's not when you have a person out there saying this is the greatest technology ever. But oh, by the way, it's going to destroy every job out there. They're trying to sell AI. They're not trying to sell it. Then they come back and go, oh, by the way, it's going to solve a bunch of problems too. That's not the way you do it. So when you talk about education, does it make the students think more, think less? If you want to know more about how to make them think more, look at PCSD, which we're going to come out with some.
We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that later. Does it preserve useful struggle? That's what I put back in.
You got to put the struggle back in.
And we did that with PCSD. Does it give teachers more insight and control or less? I've seen teachers that have used it for more insight. Yeah. And I've seen teachers that have not. So it really depends.
It depends on the person. Okay, so we already said that AI is everywhere.
Yes, we know this.
Is AI going to go away?
With the amount of money putting into it, I think the idea of going away is wishful thinking.
Is the bubble going to pop?
No, the wave is going to create.
It's going to crest, possibly. The stuff is already still there. So it's not whether people are starting to say no. All right. It's whether people are willing to listen before they say no. So the question that I have for the audience before we wrap up is, are you willing to listen? Because it's something we should have been having conversations about when social media hit the scene, when video games hit the scene, when all of the other stuff. I mean, like when MTV hit the scene. I mean, we should have been having these conversations about screen time, about cognitive ability, about cognitive
I think we
offloading.
know more about learning than we I think we've learned a lot about learning, and I think AI is forcing us to look at those human elements like your
Right.
keynote did
Right.
and decide what is it that we want to keep as humans. So the question you're asking is what?
Are you willing to listen? And are you willing to find a balance between what AI can do for you versus what you don't want it to do for you? That would be my question. Are you willing?
So it's everywhere. The question is,
And you know what? You don't have to.
how to,
A lot of people ignore a lot of things. I mean, there are people that are in the world that don't drive automobiles or that,
there's not that many though.
but
Out here in the United States.
it is possible.
It is possible, but they're going to make it a lot.
Yes. So my name is Maury. I'm here with my husband, John. Thank you guys so much for listening in. We hope y'all have a marvelous rest of the week.